I don't play gachas for the stats and meta. If I think a waifu is cute, I'm pulling her. The game gets harder, so be it. I'm going through it with her. Is one of the coldest things I've ever heard in my entire life. Anyways though, I have not heard of this anime in a very long time. And I remember watching this back in the day, and I know I sound old saying that, but literally I've watched this on Adult Swim around like 10 years old or something, and that is none other than Samurai Champloo, because this series is getting an anime adaptation. Now I know you might be scared. Whoa, live adaptations are really bad typically, but when you look at One Piece, for example, they aren't doing that bad. Yeah, it's not a one-for-one from the anime, and yeah, there are some little things that you can critique every now and then, but out of all of the anime adaptations that exist throughout any platform, Netflix, One Piece has done it the absolute best. And I mean that so seriously. Again, you could say that it's buns, you could say that it's bad, but you have to look at it through and compare it to like all the other ones. This is probably the best one yet. As this post states right here, Samurai Champloo live action adaptation is in the works by Tomorrow Studios. One Piece live action, the creator Shinichiro Watanabe attached. Now, this is big because yes, although they do have the same studio that is working with One Piece, the very important key element that every live action should have is have the original creator oversee pretty much everything that is going to happen in this live action. That's why One Piece is doing so good. That's why it's up for another season. Ichiro Oda is overlooking everything, and it makes sense to do that. We don't want another repeat of Cowboy Bebop. We don't want another repeat. I know this isn't considered anime, but Avatar: The Last Airbender. They had their creators, but they left halfway because of creative differences. No, it should only and only be in respects to the original creator. And I am so happy seeing that Shinichiro Watanabe is in this. It is going to be pretty successful. Probably speaking a little too ahead of myself because there are some things that I'm a little bit concerned about, and I'll get into that in just a little bit. But for the most part, I have my hopes pretty high up there. It's probably going to be easier and a little bit pleasing to look at compared to One Piece, because One Piece, although it's still a good live action, it's still kind of goofy because the devil fruit powers are just like too far out there, you know? For example, seeing a live action Luffy is pretty cool. It's a one-for-one. If he's not stretchy, just seeing his arms extend, but like a real life arm, it is just so weird. It's a little wonky. But for this right here, there are no powers. It's just a lot of choreography, and we see very good examples of that in movies, live action movies. Take John Wick, for example. I know that's not like the craziest one, but nonetheless, it's still very good. And I'm so happy to see that, you know, we have a well-respected series getting a live adaptation. And a good one at that, and an easier one at that as well. But I want to go into a little bit more in depth in this. Tomorrow Studios is developing a live action adaptation of the cult anime Samurai Champloo with original series creator Watanabe attached to the project. The studio's executive producers, now I didn't know about this until recently, actually while reading this article, that they were also in charge of creating the Cowboy Bebop live action. As they state right here, the production company previously adapted Watanabe's other signature work, Cowboy Bebop, for Netflix in 2021, though that series was canceled after one season. Clements acknowledged Watanabe was less involved creatively on that project. We've learned, said Alistine, having the creator there to bless the creative is really important. That lesson has been central to the success of the One Piece, where the manga creator Ichiro Oda functions as an active producer across every stage of production. If you don't believe when I say that the creator is necessary to further increase the success of this live action, then you have this article right here with the producers as well as the creators acknowledging it. All real good news, because when you do look at the One Piece live action ratings, they are pretty far up there. If you look at the IMDb, they have roughly around an 8.3 out of 10, which is pretty damn good. What does surprise me is that if you look at Cowboy Bebop, it kind of sits just a little below there with a 6.7. Now that is not necessarily a big gap, but it's still a gap nonetheless. I just wish that it was a little bit lower, because when you really do watch Cowboy Bebop, it hurts to actually watch it as a Cowboy Bebop fan. They do some changes, and some of the changes just don't make sense within the story of Cowboy Bebop, the anime. But one thing that I will respect though is that the acting, they did a decent job at it. Again, not a phenomenal, but a pretty damn decent job, and I can respect that at least. But I did end up soft dropping it because it didn't sit right with me. It didn't feel good. It didn't capture the essence that much of Cowboy Bebop. So I ended up dropping it and pretty much ignoring it. But the reason why I'm bringing that up now is because it's an example of a not so well live adaptation, but comparing it to One Piece and hopefully now Samurai Champloo, this is probably going to be forgotten and could be considered lost media. Now I want to get into the point that I did mention earlier of what might be a problem within this series, and it's not necessarily a huge one. I feel like they can find a way to work this around, but it has to be with Mugen's fighting style. This guy is insanely skilled with a katana. His swordplay is completely orthodox. Like, there's nobody that can fight like him. He is so unpredictable that, I mean, even a skilled fighter would not know how to fight against him. And that's kind of like one of the things that they do mention within the anime. He is a complete mess, but in the best way possible. Now, if you haven't watched the series, the best way I can compare his fighting style is kind of close to Killer Bee from Naruto, just minus all the other 8 swords. But the style in which they are just unpredictable all over the place is still there. That is something that I might have, you know, slight doubt of it kind of like executing it perfectly, but I'm sure again that they can find a way, because if they are able to pull off a lot of the devil brute powers within One Piece, then a simple katana spinning around on someone's foot and then him kicking it around and, you know, slashing everybody with it, it really doesn't sound that much big of a deal. But yeah, no, I'm pretty excited for this live action and I can't wait to see and hear more news about it. Anyways though, let me know what y'all guys think down in the comments below. Do you think this is going to be a very good, successful adaptation, or do you think it's going to flop? Appreciate y'all for hanging around. If you like what y'all see, why not drop a like and subscribe, as that does help around on my channel a lot. Anyways guys, if you made it this far, again, appreciate y'all and I'll see y'all next time. You have a great one. Adios guys.